students, and welcome to another one of our science sessions. And so I remember last time we were in science class, we looked at the sense organs. So who remembers about the sense organs? Can someone tell me what they are? Yes, John? Exactly, yes. So sense organs are specialized organs that helps us to experience our surroundings. Very good. Let's give John a nice hand clap. Good job, John. Good. And so we know that there are how many sense organs? Yes, Tracy. Exactly. There are 5 sense organs, and we see all 5 we have over here on our chart. And so we have our nose, we have our ears, we have our eyes, we have our skin, and we have our tongue. These 5 organs helps us to be able to experience our environment by means of what we can taste, what we can touch, what we can see, what we can hear, and what we can smell. Very good. It seems you all learned a lot from our last class. And so for this class, we are going to continue and build upon what we already know. So, who has an idea which of these sense organs we're going to be teaching on today? I see nobody knows. Well, very good. Here's how we're going to figure out which one of these sense organs. On the whiteboard, you notice we have a group of letters that just looks like they're all thrown together and they make no sense. But if you take the time and unscramble them, class, they will actually reveal today's topic. So who would like to try to unscramble these letters to reveal today's topic to us? Kevin, you would like to come? Very good. Why don't you come up and try to unscramble it? Alright, class, so we see Kevin would have come up, and Kevin was able to unscramble it, and so we see today's sense organ that we're going to be looking at is the eyes. Let's give Kevin a nice hand. Good job, Kevin. Well done. Now we need another volunteer. I need someone who is intelligent enough to come up, and you're going to go over on our sense organs chart, and you're going to take the sense organ that corresponds with today's topic, and you're going to place it right at the bottom. So you're going to see the sense organ that matches our topic, and take it and place it right at the bottom here, right? Let's see who wants to volunteer. Melissa. Yes, why don't you come up, Melissa? All right, Melissa. Melissa would have taken the eye from our sense organ chart, and she would have placed it right on it here. Melissa did a good job. Melissa, thank you so much. Give Melissa a nice hand. All right, now here's what I want you all to do. I want you to close your eyes at this time. And nobody's to be peeking, okay? So just close your eyes. And while you're closing your eyes, class, I want you to think of the questions that I'm going to be asking you. And then try to give me your best response. Here's the first question. As you have your eyes closed, class, what would the world be like if you did not have sight? You ever thought about that before? What would it be like? Anybody has a response? Jada? Jada says the world would be very dark. Good response, Jada. Kevin? The world would be plain. Very good, very good. Now here's another question for you while you have your eyes closed. What would you miss seeing? There's a lot of things you can see when you have your eyes open, but now that your eyes are closed, and imagine this was the actual world, what would you miss seeing the most? Eugenie? You would miss seeing your mother? Alright, very good. Chaitra? You'd miss seeing your cell phone? Alright, Chaitra, very good. And so we see these are some things we might miss. One more question. Here it is with your eyes closed. What are some things that your sight allows you to do? Think about it. Misha at the back. Yes, Misha. Your eyes allow you to see when you're walking on the road. Very good, Misha. I see Charles raising his hand. Yes, Charles. It allows you to be able to brush your teeth properly. Very good, Charles. What else does your eyes allow you to do? Vanessa? It allows you to see your boyfriend. Vanessa, anyways, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's correct too. Very good. So class, open up back your eyes now. Thank you so much for your response. Some of your responses were very interesting, but good nonetheless, all right? So at this time, I have something I want to show you. So here's what I would like to show you, students. This is called a KWL chart. K in this KWL chart is basically what we know. The W speaks of what we would like to know, and the L talks about what we would have learned. Now, today's topic, as you can clearly remember, is the eyes. So, class, what is it that you know about the eyes, and what is it that you would like to know about the eyes? I have some sticky notepads here with me. I'll give one to each of you, and what I would like for you to do is to write down that which you know about the eyes on one, and then on the other one that I'll give to you, you will write what you would like to know about the eyes. And the third piece that I'll give to you, you will keep that piece, and when class is finished today, we will write what we would have learned about the eyes. Alright? So are you ready? Okay, let me give this to you. Very good. It seems like most of you would have finished writing down what you actually know about the eye and what you would like to know. Alright? Very good. So I would like at least 2 volunteers to come up and place on our KWL chart in the know section what you know about the eye. So you'll have 2 volunteers. I would like to have just 2. Please come up and put what you know about the eyes on this chart here, and we will share it with the class. Alright? Alright, so class, we had Joshua and Khalid came up and they placed on the KWL chart what it is that they know about the eyes. And so Joshua said what he knows about the eyes is that the iris is the colored part of the eyes. Joshua, good response, and I'm glad you have this knowledge, Joshua. Wonderful. And then we have Khalida, who said we use our eyes to see. Khalida, good work as well. So now what we would like is 2 more persons to volunteer, and you are going to come up and you're going to place on our KWL chart telling us one thing, each of you, you're going to remember one thing that you would like to know about the eye. Alright, so Priya and Sam came up and they placed on our KWL chart what it is that they would like to know about the eye. Priya said, I would like to know how the eyes work or how they function. Alright, Priya, we're going to see if we are going to be able to help you with that today, right? And then we have Sam who said, I would like to know the function of the different parts of the eyes, and we are going to see how we can help with the functions of the eyes as well. Alright, students, so now we are going to be looking at the parts of the eye. Now, I know some of you already know some of these parts because based on what you said you know, someone mentioned that the iris is the colored part of the eye. So in order for you to know that the iris is the colored part of the eye, it means you know a little bit about the different parts. So what are some of the parts of the eyes that you know? Let me hear you. Yes, Tracy. The pupil? Correct. We have the pupil here. Good, Tracy. Good job. Let's see what else we have. John, give me another part, please. Yes. Very good, John. John said the lens. This is a very, very intelligent class I have today. Samson, I see you raising your hand. Excellent. Boy, this class is on fire. Samson said retina. That's another part. Do we know any other part of the eyes? It seems here's where we start at. Alright, class. Well, look, the eyes has some other basic parts, some of which are the sclera. Then we have also what is known as the optic nerve. And of course the iris, which was mentioned before. And then there is finally the cornea. So these are the 7 basic parts of the eyes that we now know of and that we are going to look at today. But here's something I have for you to do. Though we now know about these parts, the pupil, the lens, the retina, the sclera, the optic nerve, the iris, and the cornea, it is important for us to realize which part of the eye each of these parts are located, right? Or where each one of these structures is located. So, I would like for you to try to take these parts and try to place them in the correct position on our eye chart that we have on this left-hand side of the board, alright? So I would like for someone to come up, you're going to volunteer, and you're going to try to move at least one, and then you're going to put it in the correct position. Alright? Go ahead. Alright, thank you so much. We have Kevin who came up and he volunteered and he said that is where the pupil is located. Class, is that correct? That is correct. Let's have another volunteer now. John, I see you raise your hand. Why don't you come on up? Alright, class, so you see where John would have placed the lens. Is that the correct spot? That is correct. Very good. Lisa, you would like to volunteer? Come on up, Lisa. Alright, class, so Lisa placed the retina at this particular spot here. Is that correct? Is this where the retina is located? Yes, it is. Very good, Lisa. Very good. So, I see Tracy. You want to come and try? Alright, come on up. Alright, so Tracy would have placed the sclera, and yes, it is at the correct spot. Wonderful job, Tracy. Now we have 3 more pieces remaining. Let's have 3 persons volunteer, come up and put these all up at the same time, alright? Alright, and you know what? I am surprised and I'm also thrilled. I see each of you would have come up and you placed each of the parts of the eye in its correct location on our diagram. Class, good job. I must say well done. But here is something that we need to know. We not only need to know the names of the different parts of the eyes, class, but we also need to understand their functions. So what do they do? What does the sclera do? What does the iris do? What does the lens do? And you have the idea. We need to figure out how all of these things work together to actually help us to be able to see. And so that's what we're going to look at next. Alright, students, so let's look at the internal structure of the eye. So all of those parts that we just named and then we place them in the correct position in the eye, we want to see now what is the function of each of those parts. Alright, so let's take a look at them. And of course, the first part we will be looking at is the pupil. So what is the pupil? The pupil is the black hole in the eye which takes in light and allows a person to focus on an object in their line of vision. Alright, but the pupil also does something else. A lot of times the pupil will expand and it will contract. And it does so to allow either maximum light to enter into your eye when you are in a dark room, kind of like what we're in right now, or it would contract or get smaller to allow minimum light to enter into your eye when you are in a bright area. Alright? Now let's look at the next part of the structure of the eye. Here we're going to look at the iris. So what is the iris? Well, the iris is the part of the eye that is responsible for giving the eye its color. I'm sure some of you would have seen people with brown eyes, or you would say they got black eyes, or you would have seen people with blue or green eyes, right? The part of the eye that is responsible for that is the iris. But the iris also shrinks the pupil. Remember I was just talking about how the pupil expands and how it contracts? Well, it is the muscles in the iris that actually causes the pupil to be able to shrink and get small, or to be able to expand and get wider. Alright, well let's go on to the next one and we'll look at the sclera now. So the sclera is the white part of the eye. So what it does, it protects the inside of the eye, and it also allows your eye to move from side to side or up or down so that you're able to see objects that might not be in your direct line of vision. Alright? Good. So now let's look at the other part of the eye. We have the cornea. And class, the cornea is the outer covering of the eye. It protects the eyes from any harmful substance that may want to enter into there. The cornea also, it bends light. And we will talk about that a little bit later, but light bends 2 times before it gets to your retina. And the first place the light actually bends is when it actually hits your cornea. Alright, now let's look at the next part. Now we have our lens. So the lens sits behind the pupil. And what it does, it allows the eyes to change shape so that it can focus on the object that the pupil takes in. And so the lens in our eyes functions in a similar way to the lens of a camera, right? It really helps with focusing so that we might be able to clearly see the picture that is coming into our eyes. Very good. And so with that, we'll move on to the next part of our eye, which is the retina. So the retina, this is in the back of the eyes, and it contains rods and it contains cones. things that are black and white, or it allows us to see black and white, right? That's what the rods does. And the cones now helps us to see color. So one easy way to remember the distinction between the two is because we have C for cones, and we can say C, of course, for color. All right? So as we move on, we'll look now at the optic nerve. So the optic nerve, what that does is that it transfers the visual information from the back of the eye to the brain. Because when information enters into your eye, the information still actually needs to be adjusted before you are able to see correctly. And your optic nerve is responsible for taking all the information that the eye receives and transferring that information to your brain. All right? Very good. I'm pretty sure everybody's following. So from this, we are going to move on now to explaining how the eye actually works. Though we've learned all these things about the eyes, we need to figure out exactly how the eye works, or how all of these parts of the eyes work together to help us to see. So here's an illustration. What happens is that when we focus on an image, the light from that image, for example, let's say we're looking at John here, the light from the image that we are focusing on will enter first through our cornea. When the light hits the cornea, the light will bend. Then the light will enter through your pupil, that hole in your eye. Then the light will hit your lens. When the light hits the lens, the light will bend a second time, and your lens will basically adjust to send that light to focus on your retina. The image that is produced in your eye is usually upside down. And so this poses a problem for us, because then we would actually be walking around seeing the world upside down all day. But that is not what happened, is it, class? No, of course not. So we are able to see things the right way, because after all of this would have taken place, the light would have entered and then was bent by the cornea, and then goes into our eyes, and then gets bent by the lens, and then focuses on the retina. What happens is that that information is then sent from the retina along the optic nerve, and the information goes straight to our brain. And then our brain interprets that information, and in the brain, the image is then adjusted and it's fixed, and so that it's right side up now. Alright, class? And that's basically how our eyes work.
Alright, students, so I think now we have a fair understanding of how the eye works and the different functions of the eye. Like Sir would have mentioned, you learned about the pupil, and we know that the pupil is that little black hole in your eyes. Alright? Good. Now what we're going to do a little exercise just to see how the pupil works and how amazing the eyes is. So what we're going to do, I'm going to place you guys into groups of twos, and what you're going to do is that you're going to observe your colleagues' eyes. Just look specifically at the size of their pupil, that little black hole in their eyes there. You're going to look at the size of their eyes. And now I'm going to turn the lights off. Good. Now that the lights are off, I want you to look at the pupil there and see if there's any changes. See if you observe any changes with the size of that hole. Take a moment to do that. All right, good. So I think we would have gotten a fair chance to see or observe what happened in our parotid's eye, or any changes with the pupil. Would anyone like to share? Care to share what they would have observed? Yes, Tanisha? Yes, very good. So what everyone should have observed is that the pupil, it expanded when we turned off the lights. And why do you think that is so? All right, Sam, thank you. Yes, it expands so as to give us a chance to see better, to allow more light into our eyes. All right, and we noticed that when the lights are on, it was much smaller so as to decrease the amount of light, because as we all know, some lights too much light rather can damage our eyes. Alright? Good. Good. So I think that exercise would have shown you that, or at least give you a little hint that lights can be a cause of damage to your eyes. It can cause damage to your eyes. So what we would always want to do is try to take care of our eyes so that we can have good eyesight throughout our lives. Now, can anyone give me any example of how you can care for your eyes? Yes, Tom, you can wear sunglasses. Very good. Peter, yes. You can avoid smoking. Very good. All right. So yes, those are some of the things that we can do to care for our eyes. Thank you guys for your responses. Those two are both correct. Good. Yes, we need to use sunglasses as a form of protection for our eyes, and we also need to avoid smoking to protect our eyes. Now, what else can we do in protecting our eyes? We can wear protective goggles or glasses when we're doing any dangerous activities that may cause any harm to our eyes. We can also do this 20 rule that there is about when we're using. We know that in these times we use a lot of cell phones, or we use our computers and we watch TV. Now we can tend to forget the time span that we're doing those, and we will tend to stay very long at watching those screens, and those kind of lights can damage our eyes. So what we need to do is to imply this 20-20-20 rule, which means that, or it means that you look away every 20 minutes from the screen, about 20 feet away for about 20 seconds, so that you don't strain your eyes by continuously watching, because sometimes when we're watching, we forget to blink, and that could really cause damage to our eyes. So we want to do that to avoid hurting or damaging our eyesight. All right? Good. So I think now that we know, we should know about the functions of our eyes and how to care for our eyes. Good? Everyone should have a fair understanding of that. Good, very good. Good, students. Now with all that we would have covered today, what I'm going to have you guys do is complete a worksheet on the eyes. Now I'm going to give each of you one of these worksheets, and what you're going to do is that you're going to try to see if you can say the function of at least 6 parts of the eye that we discussed today. All right? And you have about 15 minutes to get this completed. Good. Now, thank you for completing the exercise. I think that everyone did a fair job. Everyone got the gist of what was taught today. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to move over to the KWL chart that Sir started off with. And we would have completed what you know, what you would have wanted to know in this lesson. And now we're going to complete the part of what you would have learned today. All right? Now, with those little sticky pads that Sir gave to you earlier, you're going to write what you would have learned today. And I would like to have at least 2 volunteers to bring up their sticky pads of what they would have learned and place them in the what I learned section of the KWL chart. Good. So thank you guys for your responses. Now we had 2 volunteers, Court and Pam. And what Court would have said is that what I learned is that the pupil expands when I'm in a dark room to allow more light into the eyes. And of course, we would have observed that when we took off the lights, our pupils is expanded, right? So that is a very good observation for Court. And from Pam, yes, let's give him a clap for that. And then we had Pam. She said, I learned that the optic nerve takes the information received by the eyes to the brain. And of course, Sir would have give you a little demonstration on how the eye takes whatever is being seen to the brain, and we know that the optic nerve is responsible for taking that information to the brain. So give Pam a little clap for that. Very good. I think we have a good understanding of how the eye works.
Right, and so students, we would have learned what we needed to learn about the eye for today. Next week, when you come to class, we will look at another sense organ. I will not tell you which one, so go home, revise on all the other four, and when you come next week, you'll be prepared for either one. Have a good day.